Have you ever laid down to rest and immediately felt the urge to get back up? You haven't done enough? You're being lazy for simply stopping? This video is for the overachievers, the perfectionists, the ones who can't sit still without guilt whispering in their ear. You associate your worth with your output. You hustle, grind, optimize, but secretly feel hollow, tired, and on the edge of breaking. You're stuck in a burnout cycle that prioritizes productivity over rest. This is our quiet, compassionate deep dive into why rest feels like guilt and how we can begin to untangle self-worth from achievement. So breathe, sit with me, let's explore.
Part 1. Defining the burnout loop. What is burnout? Burnout isn't just about being tired. It's a full-body, soul-level depletion. It's emotional, physical, and existential exhaustion wrapped into one. And it creeps in so slowly, you barely notice it's there. It's waking up exhausted, even after a full night's sleep. It's lying in bed at night, mind racing with to-dos. It's feeling both wired and tired at the same time, unable to stop, yet unable to go on. The loop is vicious. Overcommitment, exhaustion, guilt for not doing enough, pushing even harder, deeper burnout, repeat. It doesn't begin with failure. It begins with ambition. You say yes to everything. You care deeply. You want to do things right. But the cost of carrying it all eventually catches up. How it sneaks up. You normalize your fatigue. Everyone's tired, right? You mistake coping for thriving. Just because you're functioning doesn't mean you're okay. You confuse adrenaline for energy. You become so used to the pressure that peace feels uncomfortable. You start measuring your day by what you got done, instead of how you felt. And before long, exhaustion becomes your baseline. Not because you're weak, but because you're running on empty. Burnout isn't a badge of honor. It's a silent scream. We've glorified burnout, turned it into a measure of devotion, of drive, of how much we're willing to sacrifice. But burnout is not noble. It's not strength. It's a warning sign. You can only ignore your limits for so long before your body and mind begin to revolt. And still, they keep going because in their mind, stopping would be failure. Stopping would mean they aren't enough. But what if the rest isn't a sign of weakness? What if it's the very thing that keeps you from breaking? Part 2. The root of guilt around rest. The guilt you feel when you try to rest didn't start last week, or even last year. It's been with you for a long time. Quiet, familiar, almost like background music you never chose to play, but that's been looping in your head for decades. We don't just wake up one day and associate rest with failure. We are taught it. We are conditioned into it. It begins when we're still small. Learn behavior, praise only, when you're productive. Maybe it started with school. Maybe it was those moments when you only got attention when you aced a test, cleaned the house, or took care of your younger siblings. Maybe you were the kid that adults called so responsible for your age. They meant it as a compliment. You heard it as, "My worth is in what I do for others." You were rewarded for maturity, often at the cost of your childhood. There was no applause for resting, no praise for saying "I need help," only for pushing through, only for showing up. Cultural messaging, rest as a sin, work as virtue. You grow up, and the culture only doubles down. Time is money. Grind now, rest later, sleep when you're dead. They sound motivational, but they're not. They are mantras of a society addicted to productivity, a culture that links success to self-abandonment. We glorify hustle. We equate overwork with ambition. We mistake burnout for bravery. We don't just fear rest, we shame it. Internalized capitalism. Your worth equals your output. It's deeper than culture. It becomes identity. Internalized capitalism is when you believe that your value is in how much you can produce, not who you are, not how kind you are, not how deeply you love, or how you make people feel, just what you can do, how efficient, how useful. You stop being a person. You become a machine, one that only gets to stop when it breaks. Productivity is not identity. Rest is not weakness. Childhood wounds, where the fear began. But let's go deeper. Before the work ethic, before the culture, there was something else. Maybe you were the responsible one in a house full of chaos, the caretaker, the fixer, the adult in a child's body. Rest wasn't an option. If you slowed down, things fell apart. Maybe love only came when you achieved, when you brought home good grades, when you performed well. Love felt earned, never given freely. So you learned to hustle for affection. Or maybe you were punished for slowing down, called lazy, unmotivated, told you'd never be anything if you didn't work harder. So rest became something else. A threat, a source of shame, a silent enemy in the war to prove your worth. You were taught that stopping means falling behind, that rest is dangerous, that slowing down is a betrayal of who you've worked so hard to become. But what if that's not true? What if the real danger is never stopping at all? What if the burnout, the fatigue, the disconnection from joy? What if that's not weakness? What if it's your body and your soul asking you to come home? You are not lazy, you are tired, and you deserve rest. Part 3. High-functioning burnout. Here's the twist, no one tells you. Burnout doesn't always look like collapse. Sometimes it looks like success. You're waking up early, you're meeting your deadlines, your calendar is full, your inbox is at 0. People tell you, I don't know how you do it all, but they don't see what it costs you. High-functioning burnout is insidious. You're not failing by society's standards. In fact, you might be overachieving. But inside, you're numb, disconnected, constantly on edge. Signs of high-functioning burnout. You can't remember the last time you felt joy. You snap easily at others or yourself. You wake up tired. You go to sleep wired. You dread your day, even if it looks easy. You're either hyper-focused or completely detached, no in between. You feel guilty when you're not doing something productive. You're not lazy, you're depleted. You've trained yourself to push through. You've stopped checking in with how you feel, because you're afraid of what you might hear. Maybe you're telling yourself, I just need a weekend off. A better routine. A vacation will fix this. But then the weekend comes, and rest feels impossible. You sit down to relax, and your mind starts sprinting. You try to take a break, and the guilt rushes in. That's not laziness. That's trauma. That's nervous system burnout. You've built a life that's constantly on fire, and now you don't know how to live without the heat. You tell yourself you're okay, because things look okay. But the truth is, you've forgotten how to feel okay. You don't have to be visibly broken to be falling apart. Part 4. The psychology of worth and output. Why does stopping feel like failure? Why does doing nothing create panic in your chest, like you're wasting your life? It's because somewhere along the line, you stopped believing you had value outside of what you can do. You are not your productivity. You are not your usefulness. But when your worth has been tied to output for years, unlearning that feels like pulling apart your identity. Let's rewind. We grow up believing that the more we do, the more we matter. Not resting becomes noble. Burnout becomes status. Hustle becomes identity. This isn't your fault, it's programming. From the moment you could speak, you were being shaped. not just by what people said, but what they celebrated. You learned, rest is a reward, not a right. You're lovable when you're useful. Slowing down means you're falling behind. So now, even when your body begs you to pause, your brain screams, keep going. You haven't earned rest yet. The fear isn't failure. It's becoming invisible if you stop producing. Here's the deeper layer. You don't just fear stopping work, you fear who you'll be without it. Because busyness keeps you from meeting the parts of yourself you've buried. The grief, the fear, the emptiness. So you fill every hour. You say yes to everything. You can't sit still, because stillness is a mirror, and you're afraid of what it might show you. But here's the truth you've been avoiding. You are not a machine, and love, belonging, and peace, they were never supposed to be earned through exhaustion. On-screen quote, "You are allowed to rest, even if everything isn't done. You are allowed to be loved, even when you're not achieving. You are enough, even when you are still." Until you break that belief, no amount of self-care will ever work. Because the moment you try to rest, your brain will sabotage it, whispering, "You haven't done enough yet." This is the burnout trap. You keep trying to fix yourself with the same tools that are breaking you. You don't need another hack. You need permission. To stop, to breathe, to exist, without proving your worth every second. Because healing isn't about doing more. Sometimes, it's about unlearning the lie that you ever had to earn rest in the first place. Part 5. When rest feels unsafe. If rest is natural, why does it feel so threatening? Why do some of us feel more anxious after taking a break? Why does silence feel louder than stress? Answer: your body doesn't trust safety anymore. Burnout doesn't just happen in your mind. It lives in your nervous system. You've trained your body to survive on cortisol and chaos, not calm. When your system gets used to doing, stillness becomes suspicious. You lie down to rest, and your heart races. You take a weekend off, and you feel restless, irritable, like you're wasting time. You even plan your self-care, and then feel guilty while doing it. Why? Because your body has learned safety is in control, movement, output, hustle. Stillness might mean danger, exposure, rejection. You can't heal in a body that only knows urgency. Think back to your past. Was there ever a time when slowing down got you in trouble? When relaxing meant something would go wrong? Maybe you were the kid who couldn't afford to fall apart because someone had to hold it together. Maybe silence was followed by shouting. Maybe sleep was interrupted by chaos. Maybe you learned that being ready all the time was how you stayed safe. So now, decades later, your nervous system still flinches when things get quiet. This isn't just psychological. It's somatic. It's in your body. Burnout lives in your muscles, in your jaw tension, your racing heart, your shallow breath. So when you try to rest, your body resists. Not because it hates rest, but it no longer recognizes it as safe. So how do you break the cycle? You don't just schedule rest. You retrain your body to feel safe in it. That starts small, breathing deeper, on purpose. Placing your hand on your chest and whispering, "It's safe to slow down." Taking 3 minutes to do nothing, and letting that be enough. Letting your body relearn. Stillness isn't danger, it's medicine. Start with 90 seconds of rest. No music, no screens, just breathing. You can't heal from burnout with willpower alone. You need repetition. You need gentleness. You need to remind your nervous system, you're not in survival mode anymore. This is how the cycle starts to break. Not with a vacation, not with a new planner, but with learning how to feel safe doing nothing. Burnout is more than exhaustion. It's disconnection from your body, your needs, yourself, and the rest isn't weakness, it's a homecoming. Part 6. Choosing rest without earning it. What if you didn't have to earn rest? What if you didn't have to be exhausted before you allowed yourself to pause? What if peace wasn't a prize, but a right? Because it is. Rest isn't something you achieve, it's something you're allowed, by default, by being human. But the world doesn't teach us that. It teaches hustle. It rewards exhaustion. It romanticizes productivity, even if it kills us slowly. You are not a machine. You are not here to produce. You are here to be. So maybe the most radical thing you can do is stop, without apology, without guilt, without proving why. To take a nap, not because you finished your to-do list, but because you're tired. To unplug, not because it's the weekend, but because your mind needs space to breathe. To step away is not an escape, but as an act of resistance. You don't have to crash to be worthy of care. You don't have to burn out to take a break. You don't have to be productive to matter. And you don't have to explain your tiredness to anyone. You are allowed to rest simply because you're alive. Here's what they don't tell you. Stillness builds clarity. Pauses help you hear yourself again. Silence is where the healing begins. You are not lazy for resting. You are wise. Because rest is what allows you to return, not just with energy, but with wholeness. You've survived long enough. Now it's time to live, to create space, to breathe deeper, to remember, you are not what you do. You are not your output. You are not your schedule, your inbox, your grind. You are human, and that is enough. If this resonated with you, you're not alone. Take a moment today, not to achieve, not to fix, just to exist, and let that be enough. If this video helped put words to what you've been feeling, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Drop a comment below. Tell me what part of this hit home for you. And most importantly, go rest. Not later. Now.